okay, we're under strict orders to be on time, so I'm trying to get, I was going to start before Aaron started, but I thought there might be points deducted for that, Aaron. So anyway, I'm Kelly Welch. This one? Well, good luck to me. Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm Kelly Welch. I'm the executive director at Sheffield Place. Sheffield Place is in the northeast of Kansas City, Missouri, between Truman Road and Independence Avenue. We're in Sheffield neighborhood. It's where the old steel factories used to be before they all closed up. So our mission is to work with homeless moms and their children. That's our building. We're in an old Y. The building's about 86 years old, which has its own issues, which we don't have nearly enough time to go into. But we have this beautiful building on the corner that we have 14 families that stay with us. Most people, when they think of homelessness, think of the stereotype, the single male standing on the corner flying a sign, because that's who you see the most. Actually, in Kansas City, almost half the people who are homeless are in families. Most of those are headed by single women. So a lot of times you don't see them, because what they do is they live in their cars. They're very attached to their cars, if they have a car, because that's what they've been living in. Typically those cars don't run, but it's shelter. They also live with friends or family, whoever they can talk into taking them, mostly because they have babies, people will take them in. We also have families that come to us who've been living under the bridges. To get in Sheffield Place, you just have to be homeless and you have to have children, or be pregnant in your last trimester. So what we end up with typically are the highest risk families in our community. Most of them, all of them, have a mental health diagnosis, typically PTSD because of the trauma they've suffered. I used to be a million years ago at family court, and I remember thinking at the time, what's going to happen to these kids, that are in court right now, that don't have stable families, that can't go home, that grow up in foster care? Well, we ended up with those families. So a lot of them have grown up with trauma, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of runaways. A lot of them end up using drugs and alcohol. Currently, we have a really interesting group in. Almost all of them have domestic violence issues, severe domestic violence issues. About 70% are substance abuse users. A lot of meth. Meth because it's cheap, and some prescription drug, but mostly meth in our population. So to come to us, you have to have been clean 30 days. And I don't know if you have a lot of experience with people who are substance abuse users, but after 30 days, you're still pretty out of it, pretty foggy. So we spend a lot of time on treatment services. We also have women that most of them don't come in with GEDs or high school diplomas. And when I talk about them dropping out of school, they don't have a year left. They dropped out in 5th or 6th grade. So they have a lot of schooling they miss. They're so funny. They're like, how do they expect me to add fractions? I never added anything. They're wanting to do fractions for their GED now. So we do a lot of basic education with them. The ones we have in now, most of them, or a fourth of them, grew up in foster care. Right now we have about 43% of them that are felons. This is one of our families. We provide counseling services. We have master level social workers, and we have bachelor level case managers. So to stay with us, we're not just a shelter. We're not only a shelter. We expect you to go to at least 10 hours of services a week. Because if you come in and you're homeless and you have a mental illness, and almost all of you have a substance abuse issue, and your kids have grown up in trauma and living in a car, you have lots of issues besides you need somewhere to stay. There's reasons that you can't maintain housing. And so they go to groups, and we have a ton of groups. We have parenting, we have substance abuse, we have a 12-step group, all of those on-site, but then they also have off-site meetings. Their kids go to Head Start. They look for jobs. So some of our kids, it looks like a small young gang, but they're really nice kids there. Every time I see that picture, I think, great. We do, all of our services are trauma-informed care. They're all best practices. We have children's services as well as women's. So the kids get individual therapy, the kids go to group. We have a Pets for Life dog that comes over. His name's Johnny. He's thinking about a vacation right now, so we're bribing him with treats, cookies. We put him on the website. We're trying to bribe the dog into staying, which is so sad. I feel sorry for the guy that brings him. All of our services are on site. We have 14 families that live in our building. We have 405 people on our waiting list since January that want in. So obviously we have more need than we could ever possibly address. Part of the way we did that is we're doing aftercare services. You don't need to know that, do that. Hey, if you're with us, your goals are permanent housing, being healthy. That means you're clean, you're sober, you've seen a doctor, you've had your kids at a doctor, and your mental health issues are addressed. Increased income or increased education, and you also have a decreased trauma, all of that to say that you can live independently, you can be self-sufficient, and you can actually contribute to the greater community. We are asking you all, nice picture, we are asking you all for a van to help us make that happen. Currently, we don't have a way to transport our clients. We are on a bus line, but we're on one of the bus lines that keeps getting cut. I don't know if any of you ride the bus. If not, you might not pay a lot of attention to that, but they're cutting bus lines because it's an expense issue. We're at 12th Street, in between Truman Road and Independence Avenue. There's not much there. Not a lot of businesses there, so that's one of the lines that's getting cut. So it's a real issue for our women, particularly after 6 p.m. and on the weekends. It's really hard getting back. So what happens is when they ride the bus, they either have to go to Independence Avenue or Truman Road and walk. And it's not a great area for young moms and their kids to be walking. It's not really a great area for anybody to be walking around, but particularly them at night, especially when they've had the violence in their past. So for us to consider them successful, they meet all those goals, and they can take care of their kids. They can stay with us up to 2 years. One of the things that we are working on, in addition to aftercare services, to keep them healthy when they leave us, because they don't have good support systems, is second-tier housing, so that we have a place that they can go, be safe, and afford. Graduations, why a van? We talked about that. Right now, we have 14 families. One of them has a car. She's actually the one that's getting ready to move out. Came in when she was 16 and pregnant. We've had her a year and a half. Since she's been with us, she's graduated high school. She's had her baby. She's had 2 semesters of college, has a part-time job, and now she has an apartment. So we're really, really proud of her. She's addressed mental health issues. She's also addressed a marijuana issue. But anyway, she's doing great, and she's very young. She's still only 18. So she's one of our young success stories. Okay, my time's over.
One question. One question. Anybody?
Who's going to drive the
Staff is, we requested money for a minivan. Our staff does everything. I do a group. David does a group. We all do group because we're small staff. And we have a living right there, so it's a really interesting dynamic.
So what are you going to do with this van?
We're going to use it. Our kids got a head start,
Yeah.
which it takes them an hour to get there and an hour to get home on a public bus. So we'll do Head Start. We do family activities because they don't know how to parent. They haven't had any good role models. So we do that kind of stuff. We'll use it for recreation, educational, medical services. For that.